noticed a lot of young people, especially young men, have been asking me how to attract a sexual partner. So I thought I'd do a podcast about attraction and how to find love, and about all the things I learned that my father never told me. I mean, I probably have slept with about 6 times as many women as he has. I kind of lost count after 100. But that's not what this is about. Um, Honestly, finding love, finding a partner to spend the rest of your life with is way more fulfilling than getting notches on your belt. This podcast will touch on some principles of magic, like real magic, not just magician's tricks. First off, I want to tell you about how I met my wife, who I am so in love with. She was a Craigslist rideshare to Burning Man that I picked up in Reno, Nevada. I was coming from LA. She was coming from New York. And I posted an ad in Reno because my only passenger hopped out into a fellow caravanning car because I needed to finish up some work posting a music video I was working on. Ironically, that passenger was from the Canary Islands, where some of Melissa's family originated from. So I posted an ad that was straightforward to the point, offered my phone number right in it, and Melissa was the first person to answer the ad. And I was the first person she called because the other ads didn't have a number and weren't as straightforward as mine. When I picked her up, right off the bat, I was concerned about a pretty girl feeling uncomfortable riding into Burning Man with a bald guy in a white van with no windows in the back. So I was sure to not act out of sexuality or to make her feel uncomfortable. I wrote her off at first as someone not to date. I thought she seemed like a party girl from Miami, with her butt cheeks showing through booty shorts and all of the tattoos she had. It was her first year, and it was my 8th year going to Burning Man, so I was like, look at this party girl newbie. But because I wasn't sexualizing her, I had an extra edge of confidence that I normally wouldn't have fumbling through a first date. Little did we know, this was the first date of what would turn into a 2-week-long blind date. We got stuck in a 9-hour-long line trying to get in, just me and her, so we got to know each other much better. We started to notice all these coincidences we had in common, like both of our fathers had landscaping businesses. I asked her if she could have a free trip to any country in the world, what country would she pick? That's my first date question, actually. And she said Bhutan, the same country that I would pick. But really, what got us to shack up was that she didn't know where she was going to camp. My camp was full, and I didn't feel like leaving her on the side of the road at 4 a.m., so I told her I'd pitch a tent for her and sleep in my van, and I told her in the morning, if you want to jump into my van and snuggle with me, the door is open. Ladies, when a man asks you if he can snuggle, really what he's wanting to know is if he can snuggle his dick in your mouth. I said you can snuggle because I knew she'd wake up before me, and I didn't want her milling about and having to explain why she was there to my campmates in the morning. The camp was very stranger danger oriented for various reasons, so no one that you didn't know before Burning Man was allowed into the back areas of the camp. So, I figured that way she would wake up next to me and we could wake up together and I wouldn't have to have like an awkward explanation. As the week went on, we were hanging out more and more coincidences would arise. She just stayed sleeping in my van with me. As the week went on, we kept hanging out and more coincidences would arise. Like that both our fathers had given us the same Chinese meditation balls. She would come back with me to LA to do a gig. After Burning Man, she came back with me to LA to do a gig, and then she flew back to NYC. I really followed the magic with this woman and let myself fall in love. It was as if the universe was colluding to bring us together. I felt like in my gut just seeing her after 4 days of knowing her. I remember seeing her walk up in the afternoon to my camp to greet me, wearing that silver one-piece bathing suit, and I was thinking, her butt is a little bigger than I would like, but she's going to birth my children out of there. Yep, this is it. I know now that this is the one. It felt like I had already known her, like there was something cosmic in my mind picking up on that we were going to spend the rest of our lives together. My mind was sensing that future lifelong spiritual bond. And it caused me to remember things from way back. Like when I was traveling to Bolivia at 19, I had a layover in Miami. I stood outside on a parking garage and I looked out towards the Miami skyline, and I felt like there was something more for me in Miami, something waiting there for me, like a feminine energy. So the lesson is for both participants in dating, both people need to feel a certain amount of magic to fall in love. But that magic is tied to something spiritual, the fact that you're trying to form a spiritual bond. So there needs to be a certain amount of magic, especially for the hopeless romantic type. Because it's the magic that generates a tremendous emotional feeling that gives you the feeling that you're falling in love. For me in my life, I need to feel a certain feeling that the universe collaborated to bring us together, and that it's that faith in the bond that helps to pull you through all the hard times you might be fighting or at odds with each other, that will pull you through that hard moment. Those moments when other couples would split up, if you keep telling yourself, this is my soulmate, it helps pull you past that hard time to better times. You know, when you're in that midst of that fight, when you're about to break up, just remember back to when you first saw their face, to when you first saw them smiling at you and you began to fall in love. So, guys, if you're interested in someone, be perceptive of when those magic moments are happening naturally, and point it out in a way that reminds the other person that it's something you're sharing together. Show that you value making it memory without even trying to make it memorable. Me and Melissa, for example, filmed each other in the car ride to Burning Man without even thinking about it being important. You can also plan magic moments, but it's not as profound for you as the real thing because it's intentional. But it does create romantic memories that help to advance the relationship. This could be as simple as finding out what their favorite flower is and then ordering something off the menu that has one of those flowers in it. You know how they put a flower on the side as garnish or something like that. Um, you know, People do appreciate it when you try to make those magic moments happen intentionally. If anything, it will accomplish the next important thing in the first date, showing them that you care to learn things about them. Sure, they always say, ask them questions. But you also have to show them that you remembered that stuff about them and that you could respond to it with more interests. This brings us to a most important spiritual quality to muster for better success in dating, which is being perceptive and observant. See, women are wired to be more guarded with their bodies and hearts. Well, because for a woman, there's a lot more risk involved, risk of getting pregnant or raped or hurt for obvious reasons. Men are the risk takers, sent out into the wild to protect the tribe against invaders, where women are the ones that are kept safe so the tribe can continue procreating new generations. The biggest turnoff for most women is not feeling safe in a situation, and men always make the mistake of trying to impress women by doing risky behavior and stunts. It works occasionally, but a perfect date is ruined so quickly when a guy shows off how fast he can take his car around curves. Men always screw it up for themselves because they think they need to show off to keep a woman interested. No, showing them that you are interested in them is what will keep them interested. But it always helps if you have something interesting or unusual, a hobbies or but it also helps if you have some interesting or unusual hobbies, living an exceptional life as a way to spark and keep interest. Sometimes a woman does this awful mindfuck of playing hard to get. When they seem hot and cold, usually that's when she's playing a game. It can be confusing and feed into this rape culture thing, and men will think that a no means yes. But women play hard to get because primarily some other woman told them to do it. But also, number two, they will test a man to see how genuine they are about dating them, if they really want them or not, if they're just trying to find a new flavor of the week. as men are way more wired to roam around and try to sleep with as many women as possible. And three, they also play hard to get because a lot of men want to feel like they are in pursuit of a mate, that they accomplish something by winning a girl that's hard to get. We have a twisted aspect of our culture that the girl that is easy is worth less than the girl that is hard to get. Also reject you. Women will also reject you as a test to see if you're a creep or obsessive. They might reject you initially to see if you react in a bad way or an admirable way. There are many different games that can be played, and I say fuck all the mind games and just be genuine. I take people playing hard to get or playing hot and cold mind games as a red flag to me that someone isn't emotionally mature, or that they'll have unfair expectations, or that they won't be pursuing equality in the relationship. This brings us to the next word, expectations. On the second date, moving forward, people start to be aware of expectations the other person may be placing on them in the time now that they've been spending together. This is why laws of attraction state that when someone seems too interested in the other person, falling head over heels before the other person does, it's a turnoff. This is because the other person will assume that you're going to expect more out of them and the relationship than they want to give you. This is worse for people who have had a low self-esteem because if you think you're not that great and someone is really, really into you, you assume that they are even worse than you, and therefore they are the lowest of the low if they are that into you. That they're desperate, you know? This is why, people want to be cautious, to not say the L word too soon, to not say I love you before the other person is ready to say I love you. You can kind of stop the progress of a relationship in its tracks by saying the L word too soon. And just remember, we always want what we can't have, and that also feeds into the laws of attraction. Truth is, I could have been more of a ladies' man if I'd felt more confident, if I slowed down and listened to the cues shy girls were giving, if I really learned more about the art of seduction from a young age. But the truth is, I probably wouldn't be where I am today if I was really good at picking up chicks. I look at my best friend Clay, very charismatic at picking up the ladies. It's been one of his main pursuits, so much so that it's dominated his life. He hasn't found a steady partner in a long time, but he gets plenty of ass. Also, with his traits, he could have built much more for himself, but always going to parties took his time, and through his philanderings, his social standing didn't reflect all the socializing he had put in it. It just equated to notches on his belt and some pissed off men and ladies that he was being a womanizer. Sure, some of this info can be used to be an ultimate player, but I can't tell you how much more satisfying falling in love is and building a life together. The easiest pickup line is to compliment something they're wearing, or compliment something they said in class or a performance they did. There was something I figured out that I wish somebody had told me when I was younger, that if you want to pick up chicks, just pretend like you are that suave Casanova you see in the movies, even though you don't feel like him. As an adolescent, you feel so awkward approaching those you are attracted to. You show it in your subtleties. But if you act like that suave guy in the movies, it will come across kind of like you're that suave guy. Either way, you'll make your point, and they'll like it that you showed them what you wanted. They'll focus on the assertion of the feelings more than any cheesiness that is you pretending to be suave. That's attractive. You find people more attractive if you know that they want you. Maybe not exactly what you want, but suggest it. Show the interest. That's the key, is say things that are suggestive. And do it in a way that's a nonchalant joke. Some of it will sound cheesy, like dad jokes, but chicks dig the cheese. And a lot of them so subconsciously or consciously are looking for someone they can see as a dad to their future kids. You have to be very perceptive to noticing the girl's feelings. Women are more subtle than men. Men tend to be dense, and it's hard for them to learn the cues when a woman is inviting a pursuit. Women like it if you're paying attention to them, if you're not oblivious. Look for nonverbal cues. Is she getting giddy, giggling, twirling her hair? How is the eye contact? To avoid brash rejection or making them feel uncomfortable, wait for the inviting cues. That's when they show you they're interested before advancing the next move. One that's obvious is how close did she sit to you? If you sit down in the back seat of a car together and your legs touch, does she move her leg away or does she let yours rest against hers? Here's the thing, a lot of these cues can be off if the person's insecure. She still might move her leg away because of religious guilt or because she's nervous. Maybe she likes you, but maybe she's also nervous. Maybe she's inexperienced. Also, in first meeting someone or getting reacquainted with them, if they don't seem friendly or if they don't seem happy to see you, it could actually be that they do like you, but that they're feeling insecure. Maybe they have low self-esteem. And maybe seeing someone they're attracted to makes them feel awkward or uncomfortable. Maybe they have a voice on repeat saying, "Don't mess this up. Don't mess this up." Maybe they have a voice in their mind on repeat saying, "Don't mess this up. Don't mess this up." Maybe they were just having a bad day. It's never a bad idea to sincerely look at someone and ask, "How was your day?" It's never a bad idea to sincerely look at someone and ask, "How was your day?" Always remind yourself with anyone, it's probably not me, it's probably them. Because the same way you're worried about what other people are thinking about you, a woman is thinking this a lot more. I mean, look at how the media is designed to make a woman feel insecure, to get them to buy makeup, to be pretty enough. No one has time to pay that much attention to what's wrong with you. They're all too busy being worried if others are seeing what's wrong with them. Ask yourself, how is the eye contact? Maintaining eye contact is a sign of attraction. Looking away a lot shows that they're trying to get out of the conversation. If you look away a lot when they're clearly trying to make eye contact, it appears as you're painfully insecure. Honestly, my friend Clay would sometimes just stare into a girl's eyes until she speaks first. However, the longing stare would work if he didn't look away, like if he wasn't doing it from afar, or if he's already made contact. Because he wasn't talking much, and it made the girl think he was really deep, like he was in deep thought while staring into their eyes. It would make them feel important and drive them crazy. Men make this mistake where they talk too much on a first date because they think a silence in the conversation means a lack of interest or chemistry. But it can't be a waterfall of intriguing conversations the whole time. No, women will respect you more if you're secure enough to let there be a silence. You'll seem more mature and more stoic, like you have deep thoughts. A woman will wonder, what's he thinking about? And if they like you, they'll imagine it's great thoughts. It gets annoying to a girl if a guy is just talking to fill space, especially if it's only about himself and his accomplishments. Then you'll seem self-absorbed. Here's another thing that we do when we first meet someone. If there's initial physical attraction, less is more. Don't give up everything about yourself. It's better to seem mysterious because then they fill in the gaps with their own imagination, making you out to be the Prince Charming that they want you to be. And I guarantee their imagination will be more fantastic than reality. Let them ask you the questions to fill in the mystery that is you. That way you'll seem way more mature, like your words hold more value, because you didn't volunteer that information about yourself. They had to ask you. See, I'm not the best at pickup lines. Honestly, I hated the prospect of making a woman feel uncomfortable. That's part of the reason I became a performer, is I would do a show and girls would actually approach me to compliment me about the show. That would be the beginning of the pickup. I only enjoyed hitting on girls I wasn't attracted to because I didn't care about the outcome, and they usually responded positively. The hot girls were usually just tired of getting hit on all the time. I didn't want to be just one more guy inflating their ego. And maybe there's one more Jedi mind trick to the confidence game, where you pretend in your mind like you're really not that attracted to the girl. I'm not saying you outwardly show that, I'm saying you trick your mind into feeling like you don't care either way. I'll tell you one reason misogynist assholes will surprisingly do well with the ladies is that they don't respect women. If they think women are lower than them, then this adds to their confidence. Because if you mind trick yourself into feeling like you care less, it's hard to feel any nervousness about the situation because the stakes aren't very high. I'm telling you though, if you go down this path, you'll always end up in toxic relationships. I know a lot of these pointers to the pickup line from watching my friend Clay Mazing, who was quite the womanizer. Don't be serious. Be nonchalant, like everything you're saying is a joke. That way, if they don't reciprocate, it's easy to write it off as we're just being silly, playing around, flirty. Nothing serious here. And that way, both people have the opportunity to feel less awkward if feelings aren't reciprocated. And they'll appreciate that. After making first contact, he would advance it by saying these really endearing things that could be a joke said right off the bat. Like ask them, "Do you want to marry a guy with eyes like mine?" Or, "You are the most beautiful girl in the world." I tried that one, and it works especially if she knows she's pretty. Girls with a low self-esteem will think it's BS, like you're just giving them a razz. To ask a girl to kiss, I would just ask for permission, but say it in an indirect way, like, "Is it okay for me to ask you if it's okay to kiss you?" I mean, it's a little wordy, but it gets the point across and it's a little silly. Or a more direct way, I recalled asking, "Want to try kissing me?" Or even advancing to sex, asking, "Want to try making love?" Or I remember asking my wife one of the first few times we hooked up, "May I give you oral pleasure?" She remembers to this day me asking her that, and she appreciated that I asked for consent in a sweet way. Another way to indirectly advance sexually and be asking for consent, but this is kind of a gray area, is ask a girl, "Do you want to cuddle?" Obviously, any girl that has any amount of experience knows getting into bed with a man to cuddle usually leads to more. Set up and respect boundaries. At this point, if a woman says, "I don't want to go past this point," don't try to move that boundary once you're cuddling. If she consents to more once she's made the boundary, it's easy for her to later regret what she did and then call you out for breaking consent, which that accusation holds more merit if she was also drinking. Do not use alcohol as a way to get a woman to consent. This is one of the few pieces of advice that my father misinformed me to, was he said, "Oh, if you want to get a girl to loosen up, just get her drunk." Look, if you're using alcohol to loosen a woman up, it's rapey. It's taking advantage of someone who's in a vulnerable mental state. It's the same reason statutory rape is a crime. Someone's mind isn't coherent enough to make decisions about sex for themselves. Also, even if they want it, the magic moments are more hazy under the influence. Sure, you can advance things faster, but with less magic. Sometimes it's more romantic to let the relationship build with anticipation, to generate feelings of longing rather than rushing into sex. For men, after they first have sex with a woman, naturally they want them a little bit less after experiencing or, say, nabbing that prize. Progressing a relationship sexually during alcohol can make one second guess making those moves. Women will respect you more if you don't seem desperate for sex. If you're down to wait, if they turn down one of your sexual advances, they still may want you and will respect you more for not needing to rush that, for being patient with them. But you still need to let a woman know what you want and that you want to have a sex drive with them. Put thoughts into their mind, but use their own imagination against them. Say something like, "I feel kind of bad." They'll ask, "Why do you feel bad?" "I feel bad that I'm having sinful thoughts about what I want to do to you." So, know when to say this. not too early, as it will sound creepy. This is the thing to say after a couple first kisses once you've established that a sexual attraction is mutual. You invoke their imagination, wondering, oh my gosh, what are all the things that you could be wanting to do to me that is sinful? So here's the thing about the whole be the Casanova guy you've seen in the movies. So they create these characters because there's attributes of attractiveness that are somewhat universal. People have different types, different preferences, and individuality is attractive too. No one wants a homogeneous guy. But there's a balance between being uniquely gifted and different and embodying human attractive qualities. The dreamers with their heads in the clouds need to be grounded too. And maybe she can feel important with being the one to ground you. So there's this type of guy that will sweep a woman off her feet. It's a man who's nonchalant, happy-go-lucky, fun, and sentimental. Just remember to have fun. You should enjoy yourself because you both should be caring about if the other person is having fun. Try to shed that rigidity, that insecurity. Just accept that you could be shot down. There are so many more wasn't meant to be's than are meant to be's. There's only one meant to be. Remember, in the end, you're trying to find that one best person to be a companion on your spiritual journey. I mean, heck, maybe you want to be alternative and have 2 or 3. Maybe you want to have a little tribe of spiritual partners. The more people you involve with that, the harder it is, the more work it will take. I hope you guys enjoy. Happy gaming. I hope you find love. And hey guys, I have a separate YouTube channel where I am showcasing all of these podcasts mainly. So subscribe to that. I really appreciate you for sticking around, listening to this whole thing. Thank you for supporting me on this journey. We are in it together.
To the stars, through the clouds, there's a